so this week I'm going to be doing a blog on the book that we read for class, and it is called Separate is Never Equal, Sylvia Mendez and Her Family's Fight for Desegregation, and it is illustrated and written by Duncan Tonatia. I really enjoyed reading this book this week. I think it gave a highlight to a historical event that I never heard about before. I never heard of Sylvia and her family, and I never had really considered what it must have been like to be a Mexican American in the 40s in America. So the first page of the book, you see Sylvia walking into school, and Sylvia is at a new school. You can tell that she's at a new school. It's her first day of school, and she comes home after her first day, and she's telling her mom, they weren't nice to me. I don't want to go there anymore. And her mom says, don't you know this is why we fought? So then the story goes back in time, and Sylvia had just moved to this specific part of California 4 years earlier with her family. And when she moved there, she went with her cousins and her aunt to register for school. And as she's going to register for school, the secretary of the school that she's zoned for says, no, she has to go to the school for the Mexican children. And Sylvia is confused because I think one of the most important parts of this book is that Sylvia says, I'm American. She might be raised in a house where Spanish is spoken and where Mexican culture is part of who she is in her family life. She's from America. She was born in America. And what's interesting about her cousins and her aunt is that her cousins have lighter skin and they're allowed to go to the school that they're zoned for, but Sylvia's not allowed to. And her dad hears about this and he's outraged, knowing that this isn't fair. And Sylvia ends up going to a school. This picture was talked about in the article on page 15. It says that fall, Sylvia and her brothers attended Hoover Elementary, better known as the Mexican School, on Olive Street in the city of Westminster. The building was a clapboard shack, and the halls weren't spacious or clean. A cow pasture surrounded the school. The students had to eat their lunch outside, and flies would land on their food. There was an electric wire that surrounded the pasture to keep the cows in. If you touched it, you received a shock. The school did not have a playground, not even a swing. And if you look at page 15, you can see there's kids. They're laying on the ground eating sandwiches. Flies are around them, and you actually see cows. And the cows actually, you can see the cow's fecal matter beneath the cow. Just seeing that, and I think that was purposefully drawn to say, this place was not nice. This is not where kids should be playing. There's an electric fence. That's not where kids should be. So as you read the story, her dad's advocating for her and advocating for her brothers to have a better life. And in the end, she gets to go to, it flashes forward again, and she's at the school, the white school, and she has a new perspective on why she should be thankful that she's at the school, even though it's tough. And that must be what took me aback, was that Sylvia felt like she could be honest with her mom in the beginning, and then she had that heart change in the end, because a lot of times I feel like books either paint the picture too pretty, or they don't really give kids the benefit of the doubt. One of the two extremes. And I like that Sylvia felt like she could come to her mom and be honest about the oppression she was facing, but then in the end she could hold her head high and come away knowing that this is what her dad worked for. So I really enjoyed this book, and I think the pictures are beautiful. I looked up Duncan Tonatia on the internet and looked at his website, and to read part of his bio on his website, Duncan Tonatia is a Mexican and American, which I thought that was also interesting, that he said Mexican and American, not Mexican American or Mexican or American, Mexican and American. And I just want to pause really quickly and talk about that, because when we're teaching kids about other people's culture and other people's backgrounds, we don't have to say, you are this, that's it. You can be French and Irish. You can be anything you want. There's endless examples, obviously. But I really appreciate how he feels like he can write his characters into being complex characters and not just wholly Mexican, wholly American, because he feels as if he's Mexican and American, and he is Mexican and American. And it says he grew up in San Miguel de Allende, Mexican and graduated from Parsons School of Design in New York City. His artwork is inspired by pre-Columbian art, particularly that of Mixtec Codex. His aim is to create images and stories that honor the past but are relevant to people, especially children nowadays. So you can definitely tell that he tries to integrate different kinds of art in his illustrations, and I really appreciated that the art is something that you've never really seen before, and I think that that allows kids to be kind of creative with how they respond to the book. Maybe they feel like they can't draw super detailed pictures, and these pictures are beautiful and really creative, but they're not super detailed. And if you look at the book, you can definitely see what I'm saying. So that's another aspect of the book I really liked. And he, again, illustrated and authored it. And I think that's really cool, too, that he feels like he can do both. The picture that I wanted to talk about is on page 18 of the book. If you can see it. So I'll read it really quick. One day, a truck driver overheard Mr. Menendez trying to convince a worker to sign his petition. You know, the truck driver said, you could file a lawsuit. The truck driver told Mr. Menendez about a lawyer named David Marcus, who had filed a lawsuit on behalf of his people in San Bernardino and helped them integrate public pools there. At the time, not only were schools segregated, but also the public places, such as pools, parks, and movie theaters. Some businesses even had signs that read, no dogs or Mexicans allowed. Mr. Menendez decided right then and there to hire Mr. Marcus, even if it meant having to spend all of his savings to do so. So I like how this book not only breaks these pages not only break stereotypes, but I really like the imagery that you can see in them. So if you look at the page, the Mexican kids are in the background. You can see they're holding bars. It looks like they're imprisoned or they're being kept out purposefully. And then the white kids are sitting in the pool and they look happy, they're smiling, they're throwing their hands in the air, and they're enjoying being in the cool water, probably in a really hot place. So I like that they don't just show the Mexican children standing looking on, but they're actually clinching the bars. So it's really clear that they're being kept out, and it's on purpose, and it kind of feels like it looks like if you just looked at the top part of the page that they're in jail. So why are they being kept out? And why is there such a stark contrast between these kids and these kids, even if they're just a few feet away? And another thing I really like, and you can see Mr. Menendez. Sorry, I'm trying to figure out how to. Oh, Miss Menendez right there. I like that it says Mr. Menendez decided right then and there to hire Mr. Marcus, even if it meant having to do all of his savings to do so. So I think something that is not true, that's kind of thought of, is that Mexicans are not very engaged in politics and in culture today, that Mexican Americans are more separated and they care about only their culture, and of course they want the best for themselves, but they're not really up to date on how to make things happen. And I really like how this book shows, no, they are just like any people and even more motivated than any other maybe group. Marginalized groups are always the people who are going out protesting and, just really trying to get people to be where they should be. And I really like how this book shows that even if you're in a tough spot, even if maybe you don't have the same experiences and privileges that other people have, just as though Mr. Menendez did, he's going out and he's really trying to get his kids to go to the school that they deserve to go to. And through the book, he continues to do so even though people don't want him to. He's meeting with people, he's going before court, he hires a lawyer, and he spends all his savings because he really believes that that's the right thing to do. So that is a stereotype that I really like, is that, Mexican Americans are not people who just stand by. They're not people who take free handouts. They're people who go after the things they want. I think that this book really captures that. So I think that wraps up about everything I wanted to say. I hope I got everything in. But again, I really like this book, and I'm really looking forward to reading Dear Primo. Duncan Tonatia also wrote that book, and we'll be reading that book soon as well. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed my blog, and I can't wait to talk about this book in class.